Eva, we are live here at Barcelona Metropolitan. It's wonderful to have you with us here today. Thank you so much.
I feel as if I was in the CNN.
Eva, we've known each other for years, as you were saying, and may I say that this morning you look magnificent. You have a radiant smile. You have such positivity and energy, just all about you. What is going on with you today? Is there anything special?
That comes from Nata. I don't think I would come to an interview with someone that I highly appreciate, and thank you for the opportunity. And I wouldn't come to an interview trying to speak to an audience that I hope that sees that we in the British Chamber do some things that could have value to more people than the ones we've got. I wouldn't come without a surprise. Who would?
Well, I'm going to say this, and it's a little piropo, because I really feel it. The British Chamber has done so much for its members that they have over the years been very outspoken about the services that you guys deliver. I'm not going to badmouth other ones, but there are ones that I know and have known longer, and most of the small and medium-sized businesses that belong really don't feel that they get anything out of it. And to the complete opposite, I've seen you guys deliver tons of value to medium-sized organizations that really need it. And so I just want to say thank you for that, because even though I'm not British, a lot of my friends, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my clients are, and they speak really well of you. I know that you guys just did a recent mission over to London. I think it was last week. Several of my clients were there. But anyway, before I get into it, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and within the British Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity, because we, the British Chambers and a lot of the international chambers, are very different from the local Spanish chambers. So this is always something that I say when I meet new companies. We are a network of British chambers that can be around 120 in the world, 53 based in the UK, and then 60 plus bilateral, representing the bilateral relations of the country where we are. We are centenary. We were founded in Barcelona in 1908. And obviously, in those 3 years, there has been an evolution depending on the needs of the companies that were part of us. We are totally private. We are a membership organization, and that dictates very much with the statutes how far we can go and what we can do, because it's always with and for our members. The main finance comes from the members. So the service, we've got to be sure that it really delivers value for the companies so that they continue with us. If I had to give a definition of a mission, it would be we exist because we think that the relationship between Spain and the UK is very strong. And I can give you later a lot of evidences and a lot of figures about that. We believe that there is no private network between Spain and the UK. So there is a need for a platform where companies can come and have access to, one, information, two, contacts that are going to be relevant for their business. And we cover both public and private, government and companies. And then third, especially after the 1st of January 2021, when the country that our chamber represents left the European Union, our role of advocacy has increased. Companies have felt that they needed to adapt. They needed to learn how to deal with a market that was no longer a European market, a European Union market. It was a market that was a third market. And that was challenging because companies still say to us that they find that the UK is interesting. So it's like they really are interested in continuing doing business with a country with whom doing business might be, in some instances, more complicated.
Well, you already jumped into what I wanted to ask you next, and that is, now that we understand a little bit about the mission and its background, so what are some of the recent changes and new initiatives that the Chamber has introduced to better serve its members? I met you because my mentor and a man who I love, Steve Cahill, introduced us, and he is an evangelist about the importance of being extremely customer-centric. And so it seems like you guys are exuding everything that Steve has been talking about over the last 10, 15 years that I've known him. Can you tell us a little bit about the recent developments?
If you are a membership organization and you're funded by your clients, which are our members, which are companies, we don't have individual membership, you can only be customer-centric. There is no other way around. Even if we were not like that, I think most companies will say today that, the most important thing is to have the loyalty of your clients and access to new clients. Yes, we've had to go through a lot of adaptation. The most important one was facing from 2016 to 2020 the 4 years of negotiation of Brexit, a topic that was very controversial and was not easily understood, and where the debate was, on the one hand, immigration, on the other hand, political, on the other hand, trade and investment. So companies, no company, no economic environment will want uncertainty. If there is an enemy of the attraction of growth for trade and investment, is uncertainty. So those 4 years, we had to increase the advisory services of the provision of information. One of the successes of our organization is that we work very closely with the British Embassy in Madrid and the British consulates in other cities. The British Ambassador is our honorary president. So that allowed us to give companies a lot of access to information before that information was released, or even represent sometimes when companies were finding challenges and difficulties that were having a huge impact on their business. And I have to say that obviously the debate between the public and the private angles was so different and so distant on occasions. We were really, really grateful that the ambassadors of the time and the teams of the diplomatic mission were very good. We've had a lot of access to information for our companies from different ministries, from different organizations, and that's the maximum we could do, because obviously at that time there were a lot of negotiations. So that was probably number one. Number two was probably that we have to probably be where all the subsidiaries of the British companies are in Spain. So we have complicated our life by being present with physical offices in Barcelona. In order of activity and number of companies, it would be Madrid, Barcelona, and Malaga. But we've also started to do things in Euskadi. The País Vasco is a very Anglo-Saxon region with a lot of strengths, and they want to attract more British investment. And we found the same in other territories. We found the same with Comunidad Valenciana. We found the same with regions like Canaries, the Canaries. And some of these regions have started to have their antennas. They have started to have their UK agents. So they've been coming to us increasingly to ask for our advice to help them in their strategies to attract more investment. We always say that if you want to attract investment from a country, you do a lot of activities in your own country, but they are converted to the religion where you have to do more activity is in the end, it's in the origin. So we've also increased that. So that would be probably the three, areas that we've increased.
Okay, well, I think this is very exciting because here in Metropolitan, Barcelona is where we started, but we've been growing out to what I call the 4 M's: Madrid, Malaga, Marbella, and Mallorca. And we are seeing just an explosion of English speakers, both as natives come from the UK, Canada, the United States to Barcelona, but also caliber of the level of, say, English speaking skills of locals has dramatically increased in the last 15 years. That's my experience.
I'm pleased to hear.
And,
I'm pleased to hear. We don't find that in our environment. It's true that I know that our country has got, that reputation. But in our environment, we're very bilingual. We probably do many more, activities in Spanish than in English, but that's also a reflection of the reality. I think it's important to say that most of the senior management of British subsidiaries are Spanish rather than English, and that the British community integrates themselves. I mean, we're not a third world country where people need to be in their own community. You guys, Americans and English, you guys integrate perfectly in the community.
Let me ask you
but
this.
It's true. Sorry to interrupt. It's true that when we test what are the reasons why companies join, it's important how, sometimes we look for very exotic and complex reasons, and very often there are emotional and there are attachment to the country, to the culture, to the language. They want to be in touch with British and Spanish people, and we quite welcome having other nationalities. We've got a small percentage of companies that are not British nor Spanish. They could be German, they could be Swedish, American. So, we quite welcome to be more multilateral.
Okay. Well, you welcomed me there, and I've been to a number of your events, and
You're always well.
a great show. Let me ask you this. Some people ask me, and they're very candidly, what are the benefits of joining a Chamber of Commerce? And in particular, how does the British Chamber of Commerce help British entrepreneurs and Spanish entrepreneurs and other professionals succeed in working here in Spain?
Okay, let me give you different examples because obviously we are very diverse. We've got 300 members, and we've got from the small SMEs, you know, Spain, over 95% of the Spanish economic network is made of SMEs, and I mean the number of PLCs in Spain is much lower than in the UK. So we've had recently cases of UK citizens who've been coming for different reasons to live in Spain, and they started their own company, and their own company had, I don't know, 2, 3, 5 people, and they needed really to get to know who's who. In Europe in general, and in Southern European countries where a lot of the business is done over peer activities, where business can have a very important social angle, I think having access to networking is going to be essential. So those smaller companies will come for the access to people, to get to know others, because they think that by doing it with us, it's going to be much faster. Okay. Obviously, we are diverse in sectors, so sometimes these companies can join a vertical association. If you're a chemical, or if you're a technology company, then you might have, you know, some interest in being in a vertical association. But then we are quite a spread, so we're going to give you access to people that are going to be relevant. They might not be your direct customers, so that's the networking. We're going to be offering over 50 events which would be from the famous 2 cocktails that we do over the Christmas and the New Year and over the summer season, being the always very welcome one, the one we do at the residence of the ambassador in Madrid with almost 300 people, and the achievement of you know, a fair amount of very, very senior management. To events that are more intense in the provision of information. We've got bilateral events, we've got the presentations, the annual presentation of our barometer, which measures the impact of British investment in Spain, to members meetings where we've got a dozen of companies that in a very informal environment, they're talking to each other, they're just saying what they do, they're sharing what are their needs, and they're trying to look for alliances. You know how much, and this is quoting our dear Steve, which I hope that one day listens to this interview, the Anglo-Saxon community and our culture is very much about alliances. It doesn't matter that you are an IBEX 35 company or you are a 3-people company. Working with others is going to be essential. So this networking is going to give you access to people in private and in government. It's going to give you access to information. It's going to give you access to those alliances. And it's going to be part of your communications, marketing, and commercial plan, because when we do our retention meetings with our existing members, we ask them, what have you been doing this year in order to increase your visibility and your business? And we usually try to leverage on their plans and see where we can add value and on what things we can be helping, and on others, you know, they can be doing it very well.
Okay. Well, you actually, again, walk right into the next question is, so obviously the networking that you guys have provided is very useful, but for people who may not be as familiar as you and I about the work that you're doing, can you talk a little bit about how you facilitate that networking and partnerships?
We try by putting over 50 events, which are our own events, and apart from those our own, meaning British Chamber events, we're also providing events of member companies and other institutions. I think we're giving the platform, we're giving the party. If for whatever reason we've got people who are not very integrated, or the use of the language could be an issue, then we can give a bit of hand-holding. We should know before, and my team, we're a team of 6, plus external consultants and students, and my team, when we get feedback from companies, they always say that we are very accessible. That is very positive as an attribute, because what we do is knowing before which are the new companies, which are the ones that might not feel that comfortable because they don't know, you know, they're going to arrive for the first time to an event, and we try to make those introductions and know who they will want to meet. And we are very clear to our network. Our events are fun, but people come with a business purpose. And in the
Right.
Anglo-Saxon community, that is very clear. Nobody will be offended if you or I go to an event and at some point, after the breaking ice moments of any conversation, we want to tell what we do, or we want to ask somebody else what they do. And we say, I'd like to continue this conversation over a meeting to try to see whether there are more synergies. And if those people don't find that easy, especially when it's small companies who want to have access to large corporations, to have that follow-up meeting, that's where we have to help.
Fantastic. All right. Well, on that subject, can you share some of the success stories that members who have joined the chamber and seen really positive outcomes? Can you share some of that with us? I can name one, for example. I know Cleve and Vera have been really talking great about you guys. I know Anna Klevtsova has been wonderful, but so if you can do some other ones, because I know Anna's house, she speaks very well of you guys.
Well, the case of Cleve and Vera, I always like speaking about the smaller companies because they are the ones that obviously will need more help. Cleve and Vera is a boutique legal advice company, and their clients are usually very international. Is someone who's been very active. It's been very much a give and take. I think we've been looking after her, the main person of that company, Anna, but she's also been very active, coming not only to events that were our own events, but others. So in that sense, I think it is an example of someone who has been able to grow the type of companies that probably she wouldn't have had, and probably in a faster way, and also introduce herself in a community which, if you don't have any relationship with British businesses, then the Spain UK community, the same with the German or the American or any other. In terms of larger companies, our current vice president for Barcelona is a company called Bunzl, Bunzl. Bunzl is a huge corporation in the UK, and it exists in many other countries. They do distribution of non-food goods, specifically to the hotel trade business and the hospital sector. Because they're not B2C, because they don't deliver to you or to me, very often they may not be very well known. Their communications might be limited to the actual public sector. Meaning to the general public. And they believed in us in order to make their brand be better known. And that has gone to actually believe in our mission and believe in the work that we do. Remember that with a team of 6, we have to have external consultants to do some of the bigger projects. And we've got a board made of 15 people. The board of 15 people very often are very influential people of very influential companies. We need to give them something. It's a non-remunerated job. They're non-execs. So the fact that that company has become now much better known, their communications strategy is much wider, and they feel that the time they've dedicated to us has gone up to the commitment of being a member of the board with a role as important as of the vice presidency in Catalonia. I think it shows a success story. We've got a recent case of life science is a very important sector from the UK in Spain and in different regions. We've got a recent case of Smith & Nephew. Smith & Nephew is one of the leaders in medical devices. We will all may need a hip or a knee one of those days. But again, they're not a B2C, they're a B2B company. They're growing their operation, they're changing offices, and they're creating one of the largest training centers to surgeons in the outskirts of Barcelona. That's another success story. So we're working with them in the increase of their visibility, the access to stakeholders, and in the advocacy strategy. And we feel very proud that companies see that we can help them.
Excellent. Well, I don't know if it was before we went live, we were chatting about Brexit. Can you talk about a little bit more about in a post-Brexit environment?
We hardly talk about Brexit now.
What specific support or guidance or kind of questions are you still getting, and what does the chamber provide to British businesses and individuals that still face some legal and operational maybe legacy from the change in Brexit?
We deal more with British companies that want to invest in Spain, and Spanish companies that want to invest in the UK, and companies from a wide range of professional services who think that by being with us, they're going to have access to this visibility and business that I've told you. Brexit had much more activity in our services from until 2021. After that, probably it's been reduced to mobility of people. That continues to be a big issue. So we've got a number of members who offer informative sessions, both in person and in webinars, because that continues to be an issue. The education sector is a sector that has had, in the mobility of students, the contract of the hire of native teachers, etc. So that is obviously something that we have to continue to do. Customs is another issue. This is a very technical subject. As we don't deal with exporters so much, as we do more deal with investors, when we do activities to talk about customs, to talk about the operating model of how crossing the border now from Spain to the UK or vice versa has changed, which are the delays, the increase of paperwork, etc. We usually do that with either exporters associations, or we're going to do that, I think, one in December with Foment. We've done plenty with the port. We've done plenty with the British Embassy and the British Consulate, etc. I think probably these would be two, customs and mobility of people. There are some tax issues that we also cover, but these would be probably the ones that are the most important ones.
Okay. And getting back towards membership, can you share a little bit about the types of member? I mean, I know the answer, but can you share more about individuals versus small companies or larger companies? And does it make sense for these people to join the British Chamber of Commerce?
Again, I'd like to emphasize that we are a membership association, that like any company, the time that we put in our companies and the payment of the services that we provide have to obviously be financed. So we've got the smallest membership fee. We don't have an individual membership fee. We've got a national membership fee, which is 500 euros per year. Then the next would be the enterprise membership fee, which is 1,000. And the next would be the corporate membership fee, which is the most of our network would be the corporate members, which is 2,000. And then we've got a higher fee for patrons that usually could go from 4 to 10,000, which is really a plan of activities to do with them during the year, and which is very much aimed to the large corporations that we all know, IBEX 35 for the large British investors. For the very large companies, and I haven't mentioned that, and it was coming to my mind, I think we outstand in one thing that not all the chambers do, not all the foreign chambers, not all the associations do. We have created a few years ago what we call advocacy commissions, is working groups of companies that have the interest of working on one issue. They join to discuss. We've got 6 ones at the moment. We've got a group of companies that get together to finance the presentation of our annual barometer of British investment. And the issue is to talk about how British investment could work, could improve. What are the opportunities and the challenges? And it's quite of a lobby group, because we really put on top of the government what are the issues that need to be resolved. We've got another one on innovation. We've got another one on sustainability. Innovation and sustainability are 2 of the key drivers of most of the companies that come to us from the UK. We have another one on education, because it's a very important sector. The investment from Britain in education is significant, and Brexit has complicated their life significantly. We have another one on culture and talent. Talent, can you believe? Talent is probably a recurrent topic. UK companies pride themselves by being good employers of qualified people. Companies that usually want to invest a lot in retaining, in attracting, in reskilling, in upskilling, in diversity and inclusion, probably advancing to some of the examples that we find in Spain. So that is also very important. And the last one that we've recently created is tourism. We have the UK is number 1 emission tourism market to Spain, and the first destination is Catalonia, and is 19 million tourists from the UK come to Spain. Can you believe?
Wow. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, where does Barcelona place in the pole position of the different cities that Brits come from. When I'm in, the UK, usually in London, in one of the various airports, you just hear constantly people going to Malaga, Marbella, Tenerife.
Yeah, I don't know the figures. This tourism committee has just been created, and I'm working on having, like an infographic where we've got all the key data and figures. So I should be able to tell you that very soon. We're working with Tour España, with the Catalan Tourism Agency, with the British Consulate in Barcelona. I suppose that they will be distributed amongst Catalonia, Costa del Sol, Balearics, and the Canaries.
Okay. And so let me ask you this. What are the main challenges that you see that businesses in Spain face, and how does the chamber, I guess, help them overcome some of these very common obstacles?
I think we're living in a very complex world post-pandemic. Regulation is very multilateral. Companies, even smaller companies that probably are already dealing with international clients, the world, fast change, regulations that often come, from different, European Union, different countries. Sometimes lack of the time in the everyday business. People don't have the time to sometimes investigate or have access to information, be well informed. Probably what we offer is that they can have access to something faster. Very often when executives come to our events, they say, it was difficult for me to find a 2-hour slot in my diary this week to come to this event. But today I've been away from my bubble, from my sector, from my everyday operational problems, and I've had access to, to all these people. So in that sense, we have the same challenge. We will not be able to survive or grow if we're not up to the needs of our companies. And associations have a challenge because we are non-profits. Our structures in terms of economic and human resources are quite limited. They're not like large corporations. But we work very well in the sense of having the community. If a company is asking something that is very sophisticated or is very technical, and we don't have that answer, it's quite likely that we are able to make inquiries and get to someone who will be able to assist them. And we will be even able to have someone who's going to have the generosity, because of the way we work as a community, to probably speak to that company for an hour with no cost, because we're asking for that. And in that sense, we are organizations that were very relational. The pandemic hit us badly, to associations like us, because doing that over email or over digital platforms, it was limited, especially when we deal with senior businessmen, where a lot of those relationships and a lot of those conversations are much better conducted in person.
Okay. Well, you're making me want to join right now. And you're an excellent salesperson for the organization.
If they don't join, at least they can follow us closely and they can prescribe us.
Okay, so how can people learn more about the British Chamber of Commerce in Spain? I hear it called BritCham, but I didn't want to use that because I didn't know if that was, people didn't like that term. Is that an okay term to use, the BritCham? Because I hear it a lot.
Yes, you can use it. I mean, the way people can learn about us, we are quite inclusive in the sense that if companies want to meet us, we invite them to a couple of events for free until they join, if they want to join. Like any organization in the era of digital communications, we've got a website with over 2,400 visits per month. We've got LinkedIn with over 7,000 followers and other social media. We have a newsletter, a fortnightly newsletter that goes out to 4,000 contacts. And we're now creating a new website with the sponsorship of Plain Concepts, which is one of our favorite digital companies, and a lot of the events that we do. And you've given me an idea. We probably are not doing enough interviews in LinkedIn. So you've made me think that maybe we have to explore this, because it's a very easy channel. We all have access to a lot of information about new companies arriving, new projects, new investments through LinkedIn. And interviews are obviously probably something we have to explore more.
Well, you're a natural fit. Now, I already knew that you were awesome at your job, but wow, you just you ooze competency and just wanting to learn more about how I can get some benefits and derived out of just joining for the very modest price that you guys require. So anyway, I
No,
don't have any.
we've been. I mean, I've been working for the Spain and Britain business community for over 25 years, having been working at the embassy before and having been working in local organizations in the UK. It's like you. I think this is experience, a lot of integrity, We never oversell, we never overpromise. We are very serious and we manage expectations, but we never, say what we cannot do. We're very serious, and I think we prove our value by acting. We invite companies and we say, do come, watch us, experience, and if you don't like it, we'll respect it, because we are limited and we can obviously be able to service everyone. But I think, for the cost, if you divide the costs that I've told you for 12 months and just increasing your visibility through our communication channels, often, I just don't think that people should hesitate.
Well, yeah, just for the avoidance of doubt, she's not paying me for this interview. I'm a huge fan of Chamber of Commerce.
I'm not.
And I've been
compliance in the British Chamber, compliance in our statutes, compliance in all the in the ethic code of conduct. I mean, compliance is everywhere.
But you provide tons of I guess discussions and events where you have thought leaders and questions that are thorny, some that are difficult to people don't want to talk about them in public because they're I guess polemic or sensitive, and you guys really do join them and embrace them to give it I guess that you do it with subtlety and with nuanced understanding that demonstrates expertise. And I have to say, you guys also have a really great support system in the British consulate. Those guys are really first rate as well. So anyway, I don't have any other questions for you.
That's true. Let me finish thanking our key partners, which are in Barcelona, the British Consul Lloyd Millen and Paul Clark with his team in the Department of Business and Trade. Our board, it's very, very important to mention Isabel Perea, who's currently our president. She's the head of audit in Grant Thornton, and our vice presidents in the different regions. We've got a national vice president, which is Stuart Donnelly from Brunswick. We've got the regional vice president for Barcelona, Daniel Tobar from Bansal, and Susana Rodriguez, VP for Madrid from Savills, Derek Langley, very well known in the Costa del Sol for Andalucía, and Marta Barrilero for the País Vasco, which is a recent vice presidency. When I make our annual General Assembly, when I make any presentation, I always put like a map of, like a network, like what you find behind a watch. We are not able to do what we do without the support of others. And we understand that very well. That's why we are very careful in trying to do things seriously and well. Because if we fail, the whole network has a knock-on effect in the failure. So I think that's probably the secret of a small organization, but I think we're quite proud of what we've done, at least over 100 years. Thank you, and I hope that this has been useful, interesting, and through LinkedIn, anyone can contact us. My email is eprada@britchamber.com. So delighted to listen to anyone who wants to contact us.
Fantastic.
And hope to see you soon in person.
I will see you soon. Thanks again so much for your help here. And que tengas buen día.
Que tengas buen día.
Okay. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. Take care. Ciao.